Welcome to the Berks Homes podcast, the business of building homes. I'm Katie, and today I am here with a special guest, Jolene George from Capstone Land Transfer. We are so excited to have you today.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here.
Let's just jump right in and tell us about yourself.
Well, you already introduced me. My name's Jolene George. I work for Capstone Land Transfer. I have been doing title insurance since I was 15 years old. Yeah.
Some lore. 15. How did you get into it at age 15?
My mother.
Okay.
It's, your parents always just drag you along. You know
Hey,
that
I know the
feeling,
feeling.
right? Yeah. My mom, when I was 15, she said that I needed to come to work because she was tired of us calling her all the time on the phone during the summer. And she's like, we have some jobs for you at the office. So come in and you're going to learn how to, at that time, type final policies on like an old DOS system. And I did that. And I did that for summers with them through high school into college. And I got my college degree. I actually have a degree in political science. And then I have a master's degree in peace studies. But I
Hey, you never know what
you never know.
Leave school with and then actually do.
Right? I did work for the government for a while, and I was like, I absolutely hate this. I hate it. I hate every part of it. I don't know why I got here. And my mom was like, hey, come back, work with me for a little bit. We need some help. You know what you're doing already. And that was 2008, I think. And when I came back full time to work in title, it was supposed to just be a temporary thing until I figured out what I wanted to do with my life. And then, life took some turns and here we are.
Yeah.
And so I worked in title through then. And in 2019, my business partner and I, Brian Zulli, we opened Capstone Land Transfer together in November. March 2020, along comes COVID. So
What a ride.
What a ride. Low interest rates, everything like that. And we just kept steadily growing and building our company. And now we have, under Capstone, we have 4 other joint ventures, as we call them. And one of them's Berks Settlement Services. And then we have about 42 employees, I think. So,
Okay. What's that growth been like since 2019? Where did you start with employees?
We started with just 3 of us.
Okay.
Yeah. 3 of us. January of 2020, we added one more. Actually, it was my mother. She came back and worked with me and then ended her career with us. She retired 2 years ago now. But yeah, so we started with just the 4 of us. We made it to the end of 2020 with just 4 of us, and then we started hiring, slowly hiring as we grew. So now we have 8 offices around the state, I believe. So yeah, we've just kept growing as we go along. We do about 300 settlements a month.
A month.
Yes.
Yeah. So what has been the fastest growing portion of it? What's the piece that is just steadily adding to the business?
I think it's just we have a really good client base, and they tend the agents talk to other agents and bring people into our business, and that's really helped us grow. We mainly grow in central Pennsylvania, but we have moved up to State College region as well, where we are steadily seeing growth up there. But
with real estate brokerages.
Yes. We don't have any joint ventures that are real estate brokerage based. So it's all independent agents coming to us and doing those. We do have, actually, I lie. We have one small joint venture that is just real estate with a real estate brokerage.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of moving pieces, so it's kind of like, I guess that would qualify.
That would qualify in that little example right there. But yes, so we do have one, but the others are independent agents, and then of course we have Berks Settlement Services, which is a builder joint venture. So yeah,
and been really great for us.
Yes, I've been with Berks Homes actually as working with you guys since 2012.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Where did you start?
I was with Guardian Transfer
That's right.
at that time. Yeah.
That was who we used before.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. I've seen the growth. I mean, just the growth between like you guys. I mean, I've been there through everything, going into central Pennsylvania, going to State College. It's just been amazing to watch you guys grow and expand and
Yeah, it's been really interesting into the different areas, and I'm sure you've seen the same. Every location is completely different.
Yeah.
It's a different buyer type. It's a different experience almost.
Yeah.
As much as you try to streamline and make it the same everywhere you go, it really does depend on where
Where
you
you
are.
are. Yeah. The customs and norms across the state
Mm-hmm.
are totally different. I mean,
Yes.
and the personalities you meet, totally different. I
Right.
mean, it for a state that, I mean, we're a big state,
Yeah.
but it is just crazy that every time you go somewhere new, the custom and practice
Yes.
is totally different.
Mm-hmm. And the people.
And the people, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what they expect of you is
Yeah.
totally different.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect segue to the next thing that we want to talk about is, say I am a first-time home buyer.
Mm-hmm.
Why is what you do important to me?
So
Tell me why is title insurance important?
So it is important because we are making sure that you have marketability for your home. Meaning that
Okay.
if you buy a home today and then you go to sell it tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
you can put it back on the market and have no problems selling it or having anything that happened in the past affect the sale of your home.
So how does what you do make that happen?
So what we do is when we get a contract in, we go to the courthouse, we do what's called a 60-year search. At least we have to at least go back 60 years to make sure that everything is taken care of. There are no unsatisfied mortgages or judgments on the property, that like there's no unobstructed rights of way, things like that that would affect anything for the new buyer.
So these things can happen.
These things can happen.
Like what? So when you say unsatisfied mortgage, what could happen if I bought a house and there was an unsatisfied mortgage on it?
Yes.
And then I go to resell it. What could happen?
Well, the worst thing that would happen, it's an unsatisfied mortgage. Nobody knew it. The person stopped paying it. We didn't pay it off at settlement for some reason. That bank is, after 3 months of non-payment, that bank's going to come and put a nice little notice on your door saying that they're going to take it to sheriff's sale. And you're going to be like, what? I don't have that mortgage. And
they can do that.
And they can do that because they are still technically in what's called first lien position. So that mortgage that's unsatisfied doesn't go away. It stays there. So
it's on the home, not the person.
Correct. So it doesn't go away, and they fall into position of when they were recorded. So the mortgage that's there first is in technically first lien position. So even if you would have gotten a mortgage after that, that's second lien, and that mortgage lender doesn't have priority over the first mortgage holder.
So are these things surprising to a first-time homebuyer to even know that it exists?
Yeah, they have no idea. Like the number of times we get to the settlement table and people are like, and who are you again? What did you do in this process?
Which is why we're talking.
Yeah. And I'm like, I always tell people I'm the one that holds all the strings, basically. So I'm the one who's communicating with your lender. I'm the one who's communicating with your agent. I'm the one who's calling the municipality to see if there's open water, sewer, refuse that's due, because those could be what's called municipal liens on the property if they don't get paid. They also follow the house and not the person because they're not a private entity. So I'm taking all those pieces. I'm the one who gets all the money in. I'm the one who sends all the money back out. So you're not, you're not letting it up to the seller to go and pay off their own mortgage. I'm making sure that that's getting taken care of and getting to the proper hands.
How is that different than title insurance, or is that part of?
It's part of the title insurance.
Is making sure that the money gets where
it needs to go. Yeah. And it is part of it. So if that money doesn't get to where it needs to go, then you have a claim against your insurance policy. Yeah.
So I find it fascinating that like a linchpin to the largest purchase of your life is so hidden behind the scenes, and it's a surprise as it comes up.
Yes.
I mean, in particular, obviously for first-time home buyers, it's usually less of an issue for new construction than it is for resale homes, because this transaction is a first-time transaction besides the purchase of the land. But there are still things that can happen in new home purchases. So what is something that you would tell a new home buyer to be prepared for when it comes to title insurance and making sure that they can pay for their home properly?
Yeah. So, well, what I usually say, because people always come to me with new construction and they say, well, it's new construction. Why do I need this? Like, I don't understand. Why do I need this? And I'm always like, well, in new construction, I actually feel like it's a little bit more important for two reasons. One, if you are buying a new property and let's say the contractor doesn't pay their subcontractors.
Oh, that never happened.
A subcontractor can actually come back and file what's called a mechanics lien. And that filing date doesn't end the day that that property gets transferred. It's up for 6 months after the completion of work. So in the state of Pennsylvania, you have 6 months to file this. And then after you file it, you have another year to finish the judgment. So you have a year and a half of possible claims being able to be made against your property that attach to the property if that subcontractor is not paid.
So how do you discover that?
How do we so we wouldn't discover it. It would be the homeowner coming back to us and saying, hey, I just got this notice in the mail saying that there's a mechanics lien that got filed against my home because a subcontractor wasn't paid. That is, it's something that exists. Once you have a title insurance policy, you have it for the entire time you own the home. You pay for it once, you pay for it at settlement, you don't pay for it again. It's a buy it and forget about it type thing. So you have that protection the whole time you own the house. So if something were to happen post-policy, post-day of settlement, then you would come back to us and say, hey, this is what's going on. Hey, the neighbor is saying that, this plan was written wrong or my legal description is wrong and their fence is on my side. Like that encroachment issue is a title insurance issue. So, there are things that happen post-policy that policy protects you for. Another thing is post-policy forgery.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, there's a huge uptick in that.
Really?
Yeah. Anybody can sign a deed. Anybody can notarize a deed. I shouldn't say anybody can sign a deed. Anybody can forge your name on a deed.
Right. Okay.
And notarize it and take it to the courthouse.
And what happens when somebody would do that?
So what happens usually, it usually happens in Philly. There's been a huge uptick in Pittsburgh. You see it a lot in cities and things like that. They watch for the snowbirds leaving. And then they go to the courthouse. They record a deed. They go into the house. They empty it of its property and put it back up for sale.
Oh, that's so interesting. I didn't know that.
And sell it, yeah. And so, so when stuff like that happens, so I should also say there are two types of insurance. There's a standard policy, which protects you for anything that happens from the day you buy the home and prior. And then an enhanced policy, which covers you for all that time prior, plus moving forward.
And why wouldn't everybody just do that?
Because they don't like the cost. So the cost is about 10% more than a standard policy. So really, it's not that much more.
Yeah.
But, some people are like at the end, they're pinching pennies. And it does say on a CD that it's an optional. It is totally optional in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, a lender is going to require title insurance. That's a non-negotiable. They are getting their policy no matter what. They're making you get it so that they make sure that they have first lien position and that they are protected in case, we don't pay off a mortgage or something. They have a claim against the policy as well. But, when you're getting down to the end and you're like, I really need those curtains.
Yeah.
And that $300 would get me those curtains, They sometimes just say, hey, we're going to waive this policy.
Have you ever seen that come back and hurt someone by not doing it?
I have. Well, I've seen it in that. So it hasn't hurt them in the way that their mortgage wasn't paid off or something. But even when we pay off a mortgage, a lender still has to go satisfy that mortgage.
Right.
So let's say they don't do it. And it happened a lot in the late 90s. I don't know why mortgage companies decided that they would send satisfaction pieces right to the borrower and say, hey, take this to the courthouse and get it recorded. It's your responsibility.
Oh, so they just didn't.
Never happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then you have all these old open mortgages on title. And let's say you have like an HSBC that went out of business, and the downfall and everything like that. Now we're scrambling trying to find somebody to satisfy this mortgage.
So
And
you would take care of that.
correct.
Yes.
So what happens is if you have an owner's policy, we can give what's called a letter of indemnity saying that, hey, we took care of this. We know we took care of it. Our underwriters are guaranteeing you that we also took care of it. And if something's wrong, they're still going to pay for it. If you don't have an owner's policy, we can't get that letter of indemnity, which means we have to figure out how to get that mortgage satisfied.
Right.
Because we can't tell your lender that we're putting them in first lien position without getting that satisfied. So if there's, something going on there that we can't, I can delay settlement. I've seen settlements delayed 2-3 months trying to track down a satisfaction piece because somebody decided they didn't want an owner's policy of title insurance.
These are the things that no one would
nobody thinks about.
No, even exist.
Yeah. And it does. I mean, I hate to say it happens in new construction, but when you guys buy lots of land, you're buying multiple tracts at once, right? Yeah. And then we have to go and get each tract released every time somebody buys a new lot. It's not a sat piece, it's a release. So it's a different process. And sometimes they don't, it's between the lender and title and everything else. They just don't get back to where they're supposed to be. They don't get tracked correctly. So they do fall like through the cracks where we're finding out like 2 days your buyer is going to go sell their house and there's still a mortgage on title, and although we know we can go right down the road to Fulton Bank and say, hey, like we need this to be released, it's still a process. It's still not, it's not a day turnaround. Usually, you're waiting for the vice president to sign off on the release and somebody notarize it and send it back to you and send it to the courthouse. So we can facilitate that process a lot quicker by giving the other title company this letter of indemnification and saying, you roll on, keep going, we'll take care of it on the back end.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare a buyer for this process? Like all of these, when I'm buying a house, I don't have to know all of this.
Yeah.
I don't even know that this exists.
Yeah.
How do you prepare people for something that might be unexpected that's going to pop up, or what even the process looks like?
Yeah. So when we start and when we open a file, we always ask for email addresses and things like that. We use a pretty high-tech system, but it automatically sends out an welcome email from us explaining what title insurance is. It has an embedded video if you'd rather watch the video, but it tells you, then we have, flyers that come along with it, explaining title insurance, explain the difference between the standard enhanced policy, what each covers, what you'd be covered up for, if you ever had to make a claim on that title insurance policy. And then also a little bit about what wire fraud looks like and how that's affecting our industry and things like that. So we try to prepare them up front for that. We're also working on some stuff that would prepare them during the process so they get more informational emails and videos through the process just to try to keep them on track. We have a dedicated team of settlement officers to talk to the clients through the process. And then we also send out our title commitments, which is a little different. Some title companies don't. But as soon as we get our title commitments done, we send it to the agents for review. And then they bring it back to us to look at and make sure everything looks okay. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of communication.
Yep.
There's a lot of touch points that are
yes.
involved with the title. And I think the important thing is to just come back to the fact that this is where the funnel for their money is.
Correct.
So there's quite a team of people that is collaborating to make sure that they qualify for this loan, that the loan is free to move through, that we have a clear path for them to get into their house.
Correct.
Is there any, besides the communication and everything, is there anything that a homeowner can do to prepare to make sure that this goes smoothly?
I mean, I think the biggest thing for a homeowner to do is just to listen. Really? Yeah. Just listen to the people around you. If somebody asks you for a document, don't wait. Don't put it on the back burner. Just do it. Get it to them. There's going to be a lot of times where you're going to say, I already gave you that information. Probably not to me, but to the lender, because they're the ones that need your financial paperwork and all that stuff. Just give it to them again. Like, don't wait to get your insurance policy. Don't wait to do all that stuff, because the longer you wait, it delays the lender, which then delays them getting us, their final numbers for us to balance the CD, to get you your final number. The longer you put things on the back burner when you're dealing with your lender, the the harder it gets for everybody to finish their jobs down the line.
Right. So almost create your folder with all your information
Yep.
in it and assume that there's going to be 3 to 5 people asking you for the same thing,
Correct.
because it is the biggest purchase of their life.
Yeah.
It is a lot of money for one transaction.
Yep.
So we want to make sure that it's going to go well for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it gets verified over and over again.
and over again. And the faster you can get everybody everything, the faster they get done with their job. And, you know, you're sitting 3-4 days prior to settlement knowing that you have your final number, everything's done.
Best case scenario.
Yeah, best case scenario. You know, it's you know, you're just waiting for that day when you get to come in and get the keys.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is an exciting part of this? We've talked a lot of technical, a lot of the work that goes into it, the defense that we're playing because we're trying to protect everyone. What's something that you enjoy about it?
I love still going to the settlement table. I don't get to do it as much anymore, but it is my favorite part of the job, is just getting to sit down at the settlement table and getting that joy and getting the excitement from the buyers who are moving into a new house, whether it be their first house or their 5th house because they're moving to be closer to their grandkids. You know, it is just enjoyable process to like talk to them, figure out why they're moving, you know, get them through the paperwork. My goal is to make the paperwork painless. If you've ever heard me do a settlement, a lot of people are like, you could be an auctioneer or a flight attendant, because I sort of just roll through it. But it's, you know, my goal isn't to make you sit there for 2 hours listening to me blabber on about what a mortgage is. At the end of the day, just pay. Right. If you pay you know, your mortgage every month, you're golden. Right. That's the end goal here.
This is your number.
Yeah.
And just pay it.
Just pay it every month. Just pay what they tell you to, and you can stay there as long as you want. But you stop paying them, and then they're gonna say you gotta go. But yeah, just I really just love being at that settlement table and welcoming people into the new chapter of their lives. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories you get at that point. You know, this is the end of the journey. So they kind of are at their reflection, but also excited about what's next. It's a fun day.
Yeah, and getting to see the sellers and where they're going. I mean, sometimes with the sellers, it is obviously sad for them. But a lot of times they're in very good spirits too, and they're excited to move to the next chapter of their life, wherever they're going, and tell funny stories about the neighbors and things like that. So it's just I just really love it.
That's probably why you're still doing it.
That's why I'm still doing it. I really do. My job's a lot of multitasking too, which I know we had touched on before we started this. But I actually really do love to multitask. I don't know why. Like, you know, I always say, like, an agent's working, I tell my employees all the time, you know, an agent's working with one file, one buyer, you know, that that's why they're constantly calling you. What they don't understand, we have 40 files in front of us.
Right.
But, you know, I love to be able to just stop what I'm doing, pick up the next file. Like, I like jumping back and forth and really doing that. So it's always really been a great position for me because I've been able to flow through that easily. So yeah, I like using all the parts of my brain like that, I guess.
Right. Well, it helps to have that experience.
Yeah.
When you start something when you're 15, you get the muscle memory of the reps, and you just keep kind of adding to it. Yeah. Where you don't have to stare at a file to know something that's jumping out at you.
Correct.
Or to say, hey, this is taking too long. We got to speed this piece up. Or, you know, you can kind of orchestrate a little bit differently than someone who hasn't been doing it as long or hasn't seen all of the pieces.
And
how they connect.
And also, I think doing it so long, I've seen how much the industry has evolved.
Yeah.
And like I can see where we came from to where we are now. And it's just, it is amazing what technology has done.
Yeah. What do you foresee for the future with technology? What's changing for you guys?
AI is becoming a big component in our work. Just we have a platform that's sitting on top of even our title software that's helping us. It sits on my email, and when I go back, it'll have drafted emails for me already, and it's pulling the information from our files and saying like, you know, okay, this is what needs to happen here, or And it's just, sometimes I'm like, the AI wrote it better than I could have. Like, I would have sat here for 5 minutes trying to like be like, oh no, delete, you know, like, nope, spicy, delete, you know.
How do I say this nicely?
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, like, anybody who knows me knows I didn't write this, but it looks really good on paper.
Right.
I'm not making anybody mad today. It is just coming so far from, I mean, when I started, put it this way, the banks would send us our packages via UPS with a check. Right. And if that package, if the loan docs didn't come via UPS at the 10 o'clock drop off, you didn't have settlement that day.
Right.
You know,
and you didn't know if it was going to be correct.
Yeah.
There's no way to correct anything that day.
Yeah, or see anything, you know. And then came the fax machine. And they'd fax you 150 pages of paper.
Right.
And then the first computer with one computer in the office that had AOL on it, you know, like, I mean, and I feel like so old. It's like almost like saying I'm going from like phonograph music machine to an AirPod or, you know, something like that. But it's just crazy how much, even since, you know, 1997 when I started, how far it's come. You know, it really is insane.
I mean, when I started, I ran the blueprints on the actual ammonia blueprint machine. Copies, they were blue.
They were actually blue. I remember them.
Folded, and we would print them all out for every trade, for every job. If something changed, you had to do them all again. And then you had to put them in the little slots for them to come pick them up at the office. You know, I am my age, but at the same time,
we both are. It's fine.
the change and the kind of swiftness that flywheel's happening right now, like how quickly it's just taking off, is absolutely wild to me.
It's insane how much faster we can get through a file. And you know, what used to be a 60 to 90 day turnaround time from the day you signed a contract to the day you settled is now 30 days. I'd say 45 at most. From like, I mean, we get contracts in and people are asking us to settle in 7 days.
Wow.
And it's
nuts.
And so it's just keeping up with all that technology and then also like setting realistic expectations. You know, like, you know, we're also dependent on other people. We're dependent on the tax collector who works 2 hours a week, from 5 to 7 at night on Wednesdays, you know, like to get
depending on where it is.
Yes, to get us that tax bill, you know. So it's setting expectations, but also just really appreciating where we are now and how it has made our lives easier in some ways, while at the same time making it a little harder. But, you know.
So you still have some constraints, because as much as there is the availability of technology now, it doesn't mean that everyone we work with has adopted it.
Correct.
So we still have so much involvement with local municipalities, local government. What's that process look like for you?
Well, I always say local government, I mean, they are their own little fiefdoms. And they hold on to that power with everything they have. I mean, they're great. Most of the tax collectors I work with, great people, you know, most of the recorders of deeds, great people. But like I said, there's custom and practice everywhere. And it is totally different. You could go to one county where you have to get a deed pre-authorized. So you have to send it there. They have to give it a stamp of approval before it can even be signed. And then you have another county that whatever you send in, they're going to record, and then they're going to come back a month later and say, hey, there was a mistake on this. And you're like, why didn't you look at it before we spent the money? And they're like, well, you have to re-record it now. Like, you know, and so, you know, it's custom and practice across the state of Pennsylvania is crazy, where a lot of states have adopted this is the way it is the whole way across the state.
Delaware. For example.
Well, they're little, but yes. I was going to say yes, but we have not. We have not done that. So,
So how do you prepare a home buyer for that? Just say, we do our best. But you never know what might pop up.
Correct. Yeah, we try not to worry the home buyer with those things, I guess you could say, because they're worried about so much else.
I see.
They're worried. We're going to take that worry on for them. And unless the wheels really start to fall off or we really
There's
need
like
their
a
help.
delay.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that there's going to be a delay, then
Mhm.
we'll say, okay, this is what's happening.
Okay.
But in all cases, it is written in the Pennsylvania contract that the seller has to provide marketability for their home. So even before we're going to the buyer and saying this is the problem, we're going to the seller and saying, hey, you're breaching your contract
Right.
because we can't do XYZ.
Got it.
You're not giving us a payoff or your information to get a payoff, or we can't get the tax bills. Like, what can you help us do here?
Right.
Your tax collector's off for the next 3 weeks on vacation. What can you provide showing that you paid your taxes?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you still should have records showing that you paid your taxes, whether it's you being able to get into your escrow account from your mortgage company and showing where the money came out, or cash checks or something like that. Like, help us out to help you out to get to the end.
So there's so many ways to solve all of these problems.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys do. Just go at it until the problem is solved.
Correct. And everybody's happy.
Yeah.
And at the end, hopefully we've done our job well and nobody knows we've had little tiny hiccups along the way or something like that.
They happen.
They happen.
And it's normal.
All the time.
Yes.
It's very normal that we run into an issue, but how do we solve it to get everybody to the end goal on time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you would want homebuyers to know that we haven't covered in this conversation? What's an important takeaway for them having to do with title insurance?
Having to do with title insurance. I think we did cover everything. The only thing I would say at the end of the day, I mean, one of the biggest, I think I touched on it, was wire fraud. Yeah, if you're choosing to wire money, like, just make sure who you're wiring it to is correct. We did have an instance the other month where so what the hackers do is that they sit on top of an email. They hack into an email and then they watch. And I hate to say it's usually the agent's email, but it seems to be usually agent's email. And mainly because they bounce emails.
Yeah.
So what they do is they have their, agent email, and that bounces to a Gmail, which bounces to, something else. Like, they have multiple email boxes converging into one. So it seems that it's easiest that way to get on top of their email.
Yeah.
And the hackers will get in and they'll sit there and they watch. And they watch. And they watch for a big transaction.
I see.
And then what they do is they watch for communications between all of us. And they see that title sent something in. And so then they take our signature line. I've seen them do it. They take our whole signature line, pictures and everything.
Yeah.
And they change our email address by one character.
Oh, wow.
And say that they're us, and
send me your wire.
Send me you have to wire us the money for your transaction 2 days prior to the settlement.
Oh, wow.
Here's our wire information. And I mean, I've seen it. The wire information doesn't have our name on it. Doesn't have our address on it.
So these are the things to watch for.
Yeah. Like, if you're getting wire information from somebody, make sure that you're independently calling that company, Googling them online, finding who they are, and calling and saying, hey, I'd like to verify my wire instruction. We have went so far that we've employed a company called Certified ID that's the only way we send and collect wire instructions now.
Is through this verified,
secure company we go in, we put in your email, your phone number, you get a text message and an email saying, hey, Capstone is sending you wire instructions, or Berks Settlement Services is sending you wire instructions. Here they are, and you have to go in, answer some security questions, and then you can go in and get those.
I mean, that's the way it's going. You just kind of have to take those measures at this point.
Yeah, because, I mean, we have to say that we followed so many steps to make sure that you knew how you should send your money. Because if you get false wire instructions, I mean, one that happened the other month, I think it was $130,000 she wired to the wrong. And you have about 24 hours
to be able to recover it. Okay.
To be able to recover that money. And that's why they try to do it 2 days prior to settlement.
Because you're not checking.
Yeah. And we're saying, you know, the day prior to settlement, okay, you know, how are you sending us your money? You need to send us a wire or certified funds. And they go, well, we already wired our money. You told us to do it 2 days ago.
Right.
And we're like, no, nobody here talked to you about that. Like, no.
So you're seeing 300 transactions a month. So how much is this happening now?
Shockingly, a lot.
Really?
A lot.
So that's why you're saying, hey, buyer beware.
Hey, buyer beware. Shockingly a lot. We've been very lucky. We haven't lost any money to wire fraud. So, I mean, we haven't sent out. But, I mean, they've gotten so sophisticated that they've figured out how to send new payoffs.
What does that mean?
Like the hackers will send payoffs to title companies. This hasn't happened to us, but they will send payoffs to title companies and say, hey, here's an updated payoff for John Smith.
Yeah.
He made a payment. Right? And it looks like it's coming from Nation Star or Mr. Cooper, something like that. Looks totally legit. But in the meantime, they've just changed the routing number.
Right.
Changed the account number. So when you go to wire out your payoff, because most of us wire them out nowadays, it's faster than sending them via UPS. You know, you have now wired $150,000, you know, $300,000 to a hacker thinking you sent it to Mr. Cooper. And that, unfortunately, you don't find out about until 3 months later when that mortgage company is saying, John Smith hasn't paid his mortgage for the last 3 months.
Right.
What's going on here? And the new buyer's getting a sheriff's notice put on their door.
Right.
You know, so the hackers would use any ounce of their brain power for good. This world would be a better, let me just tell you. I mean, world peace, hunger, you know, everything.
They could solve it all.
They could solve it all. It'd be, you know, just take it and solve all the world's problems.
Right.
But now they're just stealing people's money and sending it overseas somewhere. I don't know.
And making everyone else work a lot harder for no reason.
Yeah. Making everybody work a lot harder for no reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
So just, you know, always verify or just bring a check. True. I'm scared to death to wire money. I'm just like, can I give you a check? Can I overnight you a check?
Right,
you know, like,
isn't it funny how when the convenience comes available, it's like you can't wait to use it until it gets exploited like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we'll just go back to the old way of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. There was somebody up in New York, I had heard they lost $1.3 million. Yeah. In wire fraud.
Unimaginable loss at this point. Yeah.
And you always, I mean, and like I said, they're so good. They take our signature lines. They do everything in it. Unless you're paying attention to that minute detail of Capstone is not spelled correctly in that email address.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, yeah.
So look for, what's it? Check ID?
Certified ID.
Certified ID. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the ticket.
That's the ticket.
Okay, I think we covered everything that we were intending to.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate your time today.
Anytime.
I feel like you made title exciting.
I don't think it's exciting. I don't know if anybody can make title insurance exciting, but I try.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.